Hey guys, tonight we're going to talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart today. I was showing somebody around Powershell a little bit earlier, and I was just kind of playing around with database properties and whatnot, and I found a database on a server that was that had AutoShrink turned on. And so I was going, I know how to turn this off. I wonder if anybody else does. So let's go ahead and let's walk through looking at AutoShrink and PowerShell, and then we're going to turn it off, and then I'm going to show you how to turn it off on all your servers, because seriously, you should never have AutoShrink turned on. That's not even a question. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you think of a use case where you absolutely have to have AutoShrink turned on, you're wrong. Period. You're doing something majorly wrong if you have to have AutoShrink. Anyway, okay. So, here we go. So you can see I've recreated something here on my local box, right? So I'm in databases, and I'm going to pull a directory, and I'm going to say, and it's very easy. Do a format table, get a name, AutoShrink, let's do auto size, blah, 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 blah. They're all false, right? Easy enough. Wait a minute, they're all false. I thought they shouldn't have been. Okay. Oh, I bet I know what the problem is. Okay, so this is the same thing. This is the same problem that we had before with the provider not refreshing, because I ran through and checked this before. So the provider still thinks that it's false. So all we're going to have to do now is refresh the provider. So let's do a quick clear screen. Okay, the easiest way to do that, let's see, directory, pipe it to a for each, call the refresh method on each one of these guys. There we go. Let's go back up. Where are we? Right there. And there we go. Now we have DB4 set to true for AutoShrink. Okay. Now we got to do is change it, and that's actually just as easy as the last one we just did. All I got to do is find it. There we go. So instead of calling the refresh method, let's say AutoShrink equals 0. Let's get rid of the parentheses. So all we're saying is for each database in there, set AutoShrink equal to 0, which is false. You could also set it to false like that, right? There we go. Now let's refresh our provider again. Refresh it again. Sorry about that. Actually, let's try setting it to 0 this time. Equals 0. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Okay. I'll set it to false. What I didn't do was call the alter method. I forget that all the time. So, I'm setting it to false here. And I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted tonight because these emails keep popping up. So I'm calling AutoShrink here, and I'm setting it to false or 0, and then I have to call the alter method, and that's going to fail because I need a period right there. And anytime something has an alter method, it's usually best if you use it, because otherwise it just changes it in your PowerShell session and doesn't persist it to the host. So now I got that. Now let's go back and try to see. There we go. Now it's false. There you go. So we've learned how to find the AutoShrink option, right? We've learned how to change the AutoShrink, but that's not really good enough, is it? Because if we've got AutoShrink on one of our boxes, then we could have it on a lot of our boxes. So let's go ahead and learn how to do that. I'm going to pop into PowerShell Studio by Sapien. And for the sole purpose that you know, when you start working with multiple servers, a lot of times it's just easier to have, you know, something color coded or whatnot, right? You can easily do this at the command line, but sometimes it's just easier. So I'm still going to set this to localhost, right? I'm going to set a variable equal to localhost, but it, you know, I've done this many times in videos. It doesn't have to be localhost. It could be an invoke SQL command query being returned. It could be a get content from a file that contains host. It could be a database string. I mean, it could be a list of strings right here. It doesn't matter. So once you get whatever database list you want into A, then we're gonna go A. We're gonna pipe that into a for each. We're gonna set the server equal to the current iteration just to make it easier. We're gonna print the server because if we have a lot of servers, we don't want them to, we don't want to just sit there and have the cursor blinking at us, right? Now, we're going to change to that directory. You notice how down here, we're in the directory. Here, let me scroll this guy up for you. There you go. You notice how here we're in the directory, right? Well, here we need to be in the directory. So we need to change directory to SQL Server, SQL, get the server, and we need to go /default. In this case it's /default, and then databases, and then for each one of those we're also going to shrink the database and run the alter command, and it's just that simple. Oops, wait a minute, it's not quite that simple. I did forget my inner loop. Okay, I told you I was distracted tonight. So now I have to, let's just call this B, right? Equals directory. And now we can say cache B, pipe that to a for each. And this for each goes inside of there. There we go. So I'll put that there. I'll put these two guys, I'll indent them some so that we know those belong inside of there. There we go. That should get us. Okay, now let's run this and see what happens. But first, let's go down here and change all the databases to equal true. There we are. So AutoShrink is on for all of them, right? So now let's go ahead and run this guy. Running console. Okay, we notice we have our server name printed there. Let's come back here and check. You notice how they still all say true? Remember, that's the refresh thing. So now they're all false again. Okay, so the only other thing I would add to this, you notice how you've got all these databases here, and inside of here all it did was print the server name. So the only other thing I would do right here would be to print the database name just to say I can. Let's go ahead and clear this screen just to make it easier. There we go. Run it. And now we get the server and all of the databases as it rolls through them. So there you go. That's how to change AutoShrink, probably, or on all your servers, right? And that's probably one of the more important scripts I'm ever going to show you, because getting AutoShrink out of your environment is extremely important. Anyway, talk to you later.